always be used to serve the exports market, if not going too far, at least to the neighboring countries, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Middle East, Singapore, etc. All of these countries are very, very aligned. The customers in these countries are very aligned to the thought of taking in a made in India product. So going back to the point, great steps taken by the central government on, bringing in some differential duty benefit to tablets and smartphones. Same thing extended to PCs, notebooks, and servers can make a huge difference to the IT infrastructure that is so critical to India. Dr. Rajendra talked about Digital India. To realize that vision and dream, this country will need huge amount of deployment of IT infrastructure, servers, storage, PCs, notebooks that people could have to actually access the data that would be sitting in, which will help them, get better services on the governance side and other citizen services. So that's point number one. Point number two, I think extending that, if it can be something that helps the exports, that definitely goes a long way. The DTA benefit being passed on to SEZ was a great welcome step from the government. It used to be 5% subsidy earlier. It is now 2%. Clearly, if that subsidy goes back to 5%, the economics would start playing its role, and exporting out of the country will become very easy. You may be surprised to know that at one point in time, a lot of India manufactured products in the IT products category were being exported. That has dropped now. That has dropped essentially because the duty differential is not good enough to cover up for some of the other related costs that come into play the moment you want to export. Amar alluded to that point of ease of doing business, especially when you're exporting, the kind of documentation that is required and the related effort that is required is something that could be addressed by the government, and I'm sure there'll be steps taken on that. So those are the two broad points that I wanted to make. IT products today in India have a very low localization. The percentages vary anywhere from 15% to 30%. That can climb up dramatically, and we are quite hopeful with folks like Flextronics, Foxconn coming in. We will see an upside to the availability of the components and the products that we use for building our solutions, our products in the PC, notebook, and the server category. Talking very briefly about our presence, I just mentioned about our factory. We feel absolutely proud about that, and we continue to work along with the government to see how we can serve the state as well as the domestic market in a much bigger way. Our overall headcount in state of Tamil Nadu beyond the factory now happens to be the second largest after Karnataka. We are a 28,000 employee organization. These are 28,000 employees on our rolls. We have another 14,000 who are on contracts, so about 42,000 employees in the country. So you can imagine, if I'm saying that state of Tamil Nadu happens to be a second largest workforce base, it's a fairly large presence. We have had great relationship, and of course we have expanded beyond Chennai. So Sri Perunthapur, Chennai is again a big hub for us. Coimbatore is the third hub where we have some of our ITES services colleagues sitting in there. We remain excited about the opportunities in the state. We got great support from the industry minister, and I'd like to take this opportunity to obviously thank him for giving us an opportunity to continue to grow. We remain committed. We remain committed to the state, and I'm sure as we grow, we'll see more and more investments from Dell in India coming into Tamil Nadu. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your 50 slides and your 1-hour speech. It was an excellent presentation, very short, very brief, very succinct. I'll now request Mr. Dilip Sharma, Managing Director, Delta India Electronics Limited, to speak. Being the last speaker, he can take as much time as he wants. Of course, within 10 minutes.
Good evening to my friends on the panel, and good evening to the august gathering here in this room. It's been my privilege to be here, to be speaking to all of you, and also had the opportunity to learn from the views of my friends on the panel. My job is actually even more easier than Alok, because he also covered a lot of points that since I'm speaking last in my topic, which was flipped at the last moment, and was why did we decide to invest in Tamil Nadu? And my friends on the panel speaking before me, have already said a lot about the advantages of advantages of this state of Tamil Nadu and the benefits that it provides that goes in favor of attracting the manufacturing investment, especially the electronic hardware manufacturing investment. So there was a lot of optimism in all my friends that spoke to me before me about electronics, hardware manufacturing, specifically smartphones, tablets, notebooks, and this really excites me because all those devices will need power, and that's our core business. So our core business of Delta is supplying power supplies. We provide power supplies for right from small power watts to megawatts, starting from notebooks going up to servers, data centers, telecom networks, solar inverters, and further to wind turbines. So if there's going to be so much of electronic hardware manufacturing in India, I'm sure all those devices would need power, and then further those smartphones will have a lot of data generated, which will need more data centers. So it's a great opportunity for us, and same like companies like us. So when it comes to the topic that is now, why the choice is Chennai for us is mainly because when we decided to make our investment in India, this is our third investment. We've been investing in India since last 16 years now. But this one is going to be the largest so far. So choice obviously was Chennai region. The reason for that is because one of the goals for this manufacturing unit is not only to serve the domestic market, but also to export from here. So we had to be closer to the port, and so that its accessibility in and out is easy. And so domestic business is another story, but for import and export for the SEZ is simpler because being closer to the port. Now this is obviously one of the criteria, but the other criteria, which my friends have already mentioned, is that the infrastructure in Tamil Nadu is fairly good and better than many of the provinces or states in India. Obviously the engineering talent is plenty, both hardware and software, and labor, we have no issue. We have the availability of labor is not an issue. Power is surplus, and our operations are generally power intensive. And on top of that is the government of Tamil Nadu is extremely investor friendly, and that has been our experience, and one of the reasons for us to finally decide that we are going to invest in this state. Having said that, we still have a lot of challenge that we see because when we talk about manufacturing and exporting to the world from India, the challenges that come across are you have to be competitive. Manufacturing is one thing, incentives, government support, all the policy support, framework, they're one thing that facilitate you to set up manufacturing and grow. But once we have to compete in the global market, the costs have to be very, very competitive. One of the flip side, some of my friends have said before, the cost of manufacturing in India is very, very competitive, even lower than China. But the compliance costs that come on top, those add another 20-25% that create a certain, give you a not so positive edge. And this is what we are looking forward to from governments to simplify in times to come, which we are already seeing the steps being taken in that direction. The last 1.5 to 2 years have been extremely good. There's a lot of positive development, a lot of progress in some of those areas, and I'm sure in coming times, another 1 or 2 years, it's not easy to change the whole system. But the direction is right. That motivates us that this was the right decision. And we are about to hit the ground very soon. I just give you a brief about what we are doing in our area of operations. We have about, in total, we have about 38 factories worldwide and 60 R&D plants. And the one that we are going to invest in Tamil Nadu is going to be probably one of the largest of the factories that we have so far. So you can imagine the amount of optimism that we have on this market and what we'll be, the other markets that we're serving from this market is immense. Most of the areas that we address is, as I mentioned, related to power. So it's power electronics, whether it's embedded power supplies or power supplies for different, supporting different equipments. And as we see that whether it's going from devices up to data centers and even in power generation and even power storage and automation and display systems. So all these, we are seeing immense growth in the Indian market for all of these products. And there's enough talent in India that we can continue to do our research and development in India. That's one of the points that we always focus and always promote, that our manufacturing have to go alongside the R&D base, because the design, as Kumud also was mentioning before, the design in India is one of the criteria for us, because if you don't have design with the manufacturing won't stay there for a long time, maybe 10 years, 15 years. But as the global demographic shift happens, the manufacturing probably would also move with time, and depends on also incentives and stuff like that. But the moment you have design capability along with the manufacturing capability, that ensures that your manufacturing is there to stay for a long, long time, for a couple of decades at least. So that's the reason that we have also set up a large R&D center. We have over 500 engineers, especially several PhDs working in the power, megawatt power and also small power area in Bangalore. And the reason to choose Hosur as one of our destination area was specifically because we wanted to be close to our R&D centers. So quite optimistic, and there's a long list of our requests to simplify things, which we have already offered to the government, some to the central, some to the state governments. We're only looking forward to that if the compliance cost for a manufacturing unit in India is actually getting to very high. Small manufacturing unit, even a small average one, has to comply with over 76 regulations and has to file 100 returns per year. And that becomes, increases the compliance cost to a lot more and adds on many complexities, which probably can be simplified. And we know that there are certain steps being taken in that direction. And I think that will help all the manufacturing units a lot in the future, simplify things and move things faster. So I think that's all from my side. Or if there are any probably questions we can take later.
So since we started late, we still have about 15 minutes or so for questions. If people have questions, you kindly raise your hand and we'll take about 4 or 5 questions. Yeah. Just give them a mic. Keep your questions short. 2 sentences.
Apart from policies, is there government provisions to set up test labs and to other facilitating labs?
Yeah, please.
Yes, there are a number of schemes which promote the setting of common facilities, both at the state level as well as at the Government of India level, both in the industries department as well as in the MSME ministry as well. So those schemes are available and which the clusters can take advantage of, or the individual units also can take advantage of. So those are available. Not only in IT sector, but also in other sectors as well. For example, auto components, leather, textiles, etc.
So
We have set up one test facility in Bangalore, along with central government and STPI. So there's got a high-end scopes, high-end logic analyzer, high-end network analyzer, everything. It's there in Bangalore. Now we are talking to Tamil Nadu government. We met Mr. Shivi Shankar a couple of weeks back. They want to open up 2 lab, EMA, EMC, for all this supporting electronics industry. The small companies cannot invest on a high-end equipment. So the government is willing to invest and provide this as a lab to the small startup company. So that's the plan for Tamil Nadu is going on.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Please identify yourself and
Yeah.
then ask.
I'm Ramaswamy, as a professor in RMK Engineering College affiliated institution. First to Dr. Veerappan sir. No sir, we are not, I am a PhD guy and I have not done PhD because I didn't get a job.
Not at all.
No, because of the pressures. We are self-evaluating ourselves, otherwise management won't give us a job. So constantly we are evolving, and that's why we did our MTech and also we did our PhD, and also we are contributing to this industry. Without the academics, somehow we are helping you. My question is to Kumud Srinivasan ma'am. On fabless design front, how the Intel is going to help the academia? Because already you are helping us in several domains like donations, starting from secondary grade to university level, even for PhD scholars who are supporting that one, quite fantastic. But then on fabless front, how you are going to help us? Thank you.
So we've already started working with the ecosystem. We do a lot of R&D across all market segments, from servers, and now most recently IoT and wearable R&D is also being done out of India. The IP that is going into these designs, we are scouting actively the local ecosystem, and in places we are also investing to grow the local ecosystem in terms of IP creation. So there is a lot of work that is happening in that area. It's still very nascent. We still have a long ways to go, but we are very interested in developing it.
Yeah, the one request is please consider some of the self-financing engineering colleges into that domain so that we all also will support you.
Okay, we will do that. Thank you.
So I didn't want to, I didn't mean it. In the sense, generically, I was talking about generic, not the exceptions. Your exception.
Anyone else? Yeah, please.
On the Dell front, we have very good collaboration with Great Lakes and Dell. But if you see one of the important things wherein academia can chip in is the collaboration with the corporates, wherein we are trying ourselves from our side. But if industry comes into support, it will be a big thing. Might be, though we are exploring it, but I'd like to hear from you, the seniors, like, is that anything being done when compared with across the globe versus India? How much collaborative aspects in management or something is happening?
Yeah, so we have multiple dimensions to that. We work very, very closely with educational institutes and research institutes across the globe. It's something that we have benefited out of all these years of our existence, and if at all the speed at which we are engaging in India has just got accelerated over the last, I would say, 2.5 years. You may have read a few media articles about our association with IIT Chennai. We now have a collaborative effort going on with IIT Chennai in the field of storage systems. We're doing something similar with IISc. We also have with NIT Surat. So the list is long, actually. I don't want to really bore you with the names of these institutes. The point I'm trying to drive is that we see innovation in 3 different forms. One is our own innovation, which is we do it. We have our own teams. India has a very, very big base of R&D engineers. So I don't agree with Dr. Veerappan that India Dell doesn't exist. India Dell exists. I didn't want to make that statement from the podium, but I do want to make this now. By the way, Dr. Veerappan, you should know that 13th generation, the recent 13th generation server of Dell was actually from grounds up developed in India. Yeah, yeah. So we have very bright engineers in India, not just in Dell, otherwise as well, and I think they're doing a phenomenal job. I see a reverse brain drain happening. We see a lot of Indians coming back into India and contribute to the success of the country. So that's one, which is we do it ourselves. The second is we look at collaborative efforts with the institutes. And the third one, of course, is we go acquire certain IP whenever we believe that it really hastens up the speed of innovation. So we'll connect with you. There is a university relations group within the organization in Dell India that looks after this. If you can drop me a mail, I'll connect you to them. Yeah, thank you.
There's just one question which I'd like to ask Ms. Srinivasan. Is from the presentation I got the impression that you thought maybe design is where our strength lies, and therefore we need to concentrate more on design than on make. That was the impression I got. But other panel members, some of the other panel members, for instance, Mr. Folger, thought that we really need to get into manufacturing because of all the advantages it gives us in terms of employment and so on. So is there a contradiction here, or would you like to just add to that?
Yeah, I'm not advocating design instead of make. I think one of the panel speakers said it very well when he said that design, focus on design, is what will make manufacturing actually sustainable. Because without the focus on design, without the innovation, if it is only a cost arbitrage game, it is a temporary game. It is when we have design and innovation and manufacturing that is occurring as a result of that, that's when you have a manufacturing enterprise and endeavor that is far more sustainable.
Otherwise, we'll see what is happening in the IT services field, that you lose the arbitrage and then
Exactly.
it'll all move out.
Exactly. And then the other point I had made, which is if you look at the skills that we have in India, if you look at the engineering talent that we have in India, for us to go from where we are to innovation and R&D is a very doable thing. In fact, we do it already. I'm talking about making India an R&D powerhouse, like the way we became an IT and IT engineering services powerhouse.
Thank you for that clarification. Thank you. So you had a question, sir?
My name
Please, just a minute. Yeah.
My name is Ram Murthy. I am the convener of the CSR panel of FICCI. I would like to ask a question, a general whoever can reply that, about the quality of the people who are being taken in, like graduate engineers are being taken, diploma holders are being taken, and people who are just doing an automatic job, just mechanical, nothing else like doing something on the conveyor belt. I would like to know how you find the quality of the Indian workers, whether they are intelligent or semi-skilled or unskilled. But how do they, in comparison with your other offices?
Well, at least I've been, maybe this is Josh from Foxconn, and me and my industry colleagues sitting a few rows behind you have had this experience in Tamil Nadu and Chennai area, and across the spectrum of people, being engineers, supply chain experts, technicians, diploma holders, operators, no problem. So I think we've been able to match productivity levels in China, Vietnam, and other countries. No problem with those things. In terms of technical skill, we had to train them, but once they were trained, they were able to really contribute very quickly. Our quality levels, we're already hitting world-class levels already in the first few weeks. So I know that that's not a problem. The added bonus, I think, apart from this, is our Indian employees think sometimes a little bit more, but they think. And this talk about innovation, I'd like to box the innovation a little bit. I know you hate to say that, but at least when you're working in a factory operation, we don't want too much creativity, but we try to enable them using Kaizens and other continuous improvement programs to channel the creativity in the right direction, where it's contributing to productivity improvement, quality improvement, or whatever it may be. And our experience has been fantastic. So,
add to one thing is, what we are seeing is, on hands-on, when it comes to hands-on, the engineering graduates are good when it comes to development or R&D or all, whatever is there. When it comes to hands-on soldering or something, all this, we are finding more diploma holders are getting into that. The engineers, they want to do something which is not into mechanical engineering or into electronics engineering. They want to go do something different. So there we are finding it. I think in the colleges have to more concentrate on basics. If you do a test on basic electrical and electronics, we give a test, I think 50% of people don't even pass, because they do it in the first year or second year. So they are all in basics. I think the professor should know. No, this is what's happening. We do the test, basic electrical and electronics, people fail. I think that's the difference. Diploma holders are more strong on practical means working hard. And as to Alok, I have never doubted the Dell or Intel R&D capabilities. Absolutely, I'm saying. My point was, I wanted to have somebody, Indian IP. That's what my point was. I'm not questioning, I'm not doubting the capabilities. Some Indian company should have India IP. See, Intel is developing all the processor R&D, but IP lies in the US. My point was, some Indian companies have to develop. We have to have a IP in India. That was from my point. I'm not doubting the...
I'll just say that we should be patient. Most of the companies like Intel, I'm sure Lenovo, all the multinational companies now have huge amount of contribution on patents coming in from India. I can talk about Dell. Dell has 300 patents from India. So yeah, now patent registration happens only in US. You can't help it. But otherwise, there are 300 patents from India, from our R&D labs. I just wanted to make a comment. I just second what earlier has been said, that our youngsters coming out of the campuses have to be trained. I would call them retrained. They come in with certain amount of ideas, notions about how the professional world is. You have to just get them into the room and get them to unlearn some of the things that they have learned or understood and retrain them. But once retrained, these are really bold and brightest. I've interacted in many forums with many of our other folks, other colleagues outside India, within Dell, and I've had the opportunity to work elsewhere as well. I can tell you they're bold and brightest. They're really good. Maybe because of our culture, we have all lived in a frugal environment, so they're very enterprising. These folks are extremely enterprising. I have my colleague sitting here, handling my factory, Navneet, he's sitting here. You should catch up with him. He'll tell you the kind of recommendations and suggestions, even on the supply chain, that have gone out of India and have now got implemented in our supply chain globally, is just phenomenal. We have some of those things coming out of India. So folks are really good. Our kids are very good. They just need to be, somewhere taught the sensitivity about following processes. If they fall into that discipline of following processes, I think they'll be very good.
I would just like to add that to make them even bolder and brighter, government is sponsoring them for PhD programs. There is a program that Deity in government has sponsored them for PhD in different IITs. So we want them to leave jobs and come for PhD, just to add to what you said.
And of course, we have the ICT Academy in Tamil Nadu, which does a lot of training of engineers, making them industry ready. We just have time for one more question, last question. Shall we have a lottery? 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
My name is Ramu Murkesh, working with the Small Scale Industry Association Chennai. Above average students, engineering students coming from the rural and the semi-urban areas, they are looking for a job. Otherwise, they want to start a units. We are giving the SISI units, the associations and permission. But they don't know what the company. Just they are saying it. Still, they don't have knowledge about this industry they are going to. Just they want to start an industry in the industry like that. Now I need this, especially Mr. Veerappan, to give a highlight on the graduates, above average graduates. How we should create an awareness and how to start the industry, small start.
It needs money, it needs effort, it needs risk taking and so on. Now in the country, you need money. Basically, you need money. If somebody has got a money, then they need ideas. Good ideas are available. There are a lot of, now if you see, TI is very strong here. TI is very strong here. They have an office here. You can go and check up with them. They have a big list. MSME has got MSME department has got a big list of which are all the business you can be in. MSME is meant for companies who are less than 5 crores, sir, no? MSME? 25 lakhs to 5 crores. So a lot of opportunity. You can go to MSME. They have list of companies, list of businesses you can go in. So MSME, TIE, there are a lot of organizations, they can go and find out. Then they can get funding from different, now there are startup fund available. Karnataka state has announced, I don't know about Tamil Nadu, Kannada has a startup fund. Central government is announcing a startup fund. Startup fund for new people who are wanting to start something. The money is available for them as equity and also as debt.